So I got into religion again and started looking into it for a sense of purpose, I suppose. And purpose. Purpose is a nebulous term. I still don't fully understand it, but some say that it's related to layers, that you peel your purpose back in layers and you get to your core, the deepest meaning of your life. And that could be something like well, it's usually family or religion. It's all invented, really, because you can't say that this is true. That's an objective truth because I don't know. It's what you believe to be true. I don't know if we can ever be authentic with ourselves either. If we even have a self. I is an illusory perception. And I don't know whether Einstein said that or whether someone attributed that to Einstein. But I read recently in a book called Everything is Fucked by Mark Manson that we could have God in our lives. We could like create God for ourselves to give ourselves a sense of control. He is the same person who said in his book that artificial intelligence that it's going to become they're going to become gods. And I felt a bit angered because at the time I was very much into studying the Quran and praying 5 times a day, even though I didn't fully. Yeah, I know. I'll probably like if I lived in Saudi Arabia, I'd be totally killed for this, but I didn't fully feel it. So I was still looking for ways out and other ways of explaining things. That I believe that there was a simpler explanation for everything. I still believe that I don't know whether coincidences, whether we should take them seriously or whether the coincidence is just a coincidence. You see this all the time in politics. You see this all the time with the crazy theories that the left comes out about about Donald Trump, and you can find more realistic explanations for that, like was it QAnon or something? And they said, well, he has an inside informant who works for Russia, and it could have just been a mistake or just something totally irrelevant, like on a bill that he was holding, and nothing to do with Russia. But people like, and this could tie back to the sense of control as well, and the dogmatism of adhering to an ideology. And I'm still, pardon me, very unsure about that. As I said in part one of this video, that I don't know, I think it was part one, I don't know what I'm sacrificing for. And I feel very uneasy. I don't understand why, if you enjoy yoga, you'd have to sacrifice yoga. Because yoga is a worship of another god. And yoga is a form of worship objectively. I understand if it gives you a sense of joy, satisfaction, enlightenment, why you can't drink with your friends. But then you could say, well, drinking promotes degeneracy, and maybe you could pull up the history of the Hindus and say that they're degenerates as well, and they conquered a lot of land. But you could say that about the Arabs. And I know nothing about the history. I've always sucked at understanding history. I'm not the type of person who just memorizes. Well, I might be contradicting myself here, but I don't view myself as the type of person, at least, who memorizes facts for the sake of memorizing them, unless they interest me. Like the pursuit of God does interest me, and I want to know more from the side of God, the religions, and also from atheists and from Gnostics. But I think with AI, we're saying that God is knowledge, infinite knowledge, of course, and that the way to connect ourselves with God is through knowledge. And that defeats the object because you're not taking into consideration the contents of an object and what the object means to you, an object outside of this universe. And I don't know if creationism is true, because I do look at the history, and I know that it's limited, but I do look at the biology as well, and I question the notion that Adam and Eve were the first people, because it doesn't seem historically and biologically accurate. I've generated hundreds of possibilities, and I just don't know if I can see it for myself. Or maybe I haven't looked properly, thoroughly enough through the right angle. Because what I try to do, and maybe this is separating me from God, is like synthesize all of my knowledge together and network it all together to try and find somewhere where it could fit. So I'd have to let go of all of that, and of course, like with living in the present, that's a good thing, isn't it? If I want to realize God in what you see in everyday things, like the Holy Spirit is a dove. That is the symbol used for the Holy Spirit by some churches. Some denominations of Christianity believe it to be a dove. And you miss those things when you're inside of your mind and you've lost the present moment, and you're hoping for a future, for salvation after this life, for a future after this life. Well, it's not guaranteed. It may take billions of years before you're reincarnated, and you won't know about that. I don't know if I can have insights and glimpses into my past lives. But because my intelligence is limited, I wouldn't notice if I did have a sudden intuition, a sudden insight, a sudden glimpse into who I was before. And Bronze Age Pervert used the example of a purple goblin. Like, if he ran up to a scientist, the scientist like would just think it was an hallucination. Yeah, I'm still very unsure. I think that, well, I don't know. Because yes, there's the argument that believing in God limits growth of consciousness, but if I were to believe in God now, I think it'd be purely for my own gain, because I don't know if I want to. I mean, of course I don't want to. The concept of I doesn't want to is an egoistic conception of the self. I doesn't want to give up its vices because I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get enough. And if I were to convert, it would be for my own gain. If I were to convert to Islam or Christianity, yes, I want a feminine wife. Yes, I want kids who aren't retarded, who aren't brain dead, who work hard for themselves, and if they had to work hard to please a creator, then yes. In Asian culture, and of course I shouldn't identify myself with them according to pervert, but they're kids, and you may see this as being unfair, but like they work hard for doctorate degrees and to become doctors, medical doctors, and whatever, and they're kept in the school and raise kids. But of course then you can look at the other side of that and say, well, yes, maybe there's more of a community there, but think of all the religious trauma that they endure and how it's making them into pussies who just go along to get along, and they don't have any spine or... Well, I'm one to talk about masculinity because I'm not there yet, but yeah, masculinity or whatever. But then you could argue, yeah, but sacrificing everything for something that you can't even see, that could be, because it's so nebulous, and that term just masculinity and what it means to be a man just differs between, because I define it as freedom. I share Hamza's definition, but you know, it's everyone has a different perception of it. Everyone has a different meaning between groups. Like Darth Vader is a pussy to the rebels, a despicable man, despisable, detestable man, silly man. But Luke Skywalker is pussy whipped to Darth Vader, and that's a good example. Mickey Mouse could be the alpha male of his group, but outside of that, like, he's I don't know, he's pussy whipped. And Kermit the Frog as well. Such bizarre examples. Honestly, I don't know. If I come up with any new insights into this, any new intuitions and thoughts, I'll be sure to share them on YouTube. I have a book called Islam Answers Atheism, where Islam is supposed to be the answer to atheism and then a question. Whilst reading it, well, it's heavily based on thinking. Like they kind of use this philosophy to disprove itself by using the rules and everything. There's a lot of thinking involved, and I don't know, because God isn't thought. Then what's the point? And they're missing the point. Well, where does the point start? Well, once you analyze where the point starts, then you've missed that point, because you try and analyze where the dove came from, but then it just vanishes.